Yo, what's up everyone and welcome back to another Genshin Impact guide video. In this video, I'll be helping you learn how to build a character in Genshin Impact. I'll go over what you should prioritize when building a character and the order to do so, starting with your levels, weapons, artifacts, constellations, and talents. This will give you the general idea of building, so it should apply to pretty much every Genshin Impact unit. I'll try to make this video as simple as possible, so if you want to know how to build a character, stay tuned. If not, feel free to click off the video, and let's get started. I'm currently on my other account right now, so I can explain this better with limited options. Before diving into each category one by one, let's go through the ideal order for building a character. The best approach is to start with leveling up your character first, followed by upgrading their weapons, talents, and finally their artifacts. You will probably prioritize weapon ascension materials or talent materials in a higher level since they're only available to farm on select days, but this one is generally the most efficient order for starting players due to the limited access they have to domains, so keep that in mind. Leveling up a character should pose no problem to anyone, but if you're already struggling with this, then dude, get a doctor. To level up a character, you'll need character XP materials, specifically these three types of XP books. You can get these XP materials as you progress through the game, but keep in mind you'll eventually run out if you keep upgrading characters too frequently. So, if you don't know where to get more, simply click on it and it'll show you exactly where to get them. Simple as that. You can find this Blossom of Revelation in the map. Just open it and you will see these Leeline outcrops. There are two types of them. The yellow one is for Mora and the blue one is for XP books. Once your character is all leveled up, you need to reach a certain adventure rank to ascend them. If you're all good with that, then ascending is going to be easy. You're going to need the required materials in order to ascend a character. If you're missing some materials, you can go look for them in the source right here. Just click on the source and you can track them. Pay attention, new players, that if you have a character from a locked region, you need to unlock those regions first to get their materials. For example, I have Kujo Sara here. I haven't unlocked Inazuma yet, which means I can't collect or ascension materials until I unlock that part of the map. Now what can you do to get the materials for region locked characters? Nothing. Except, when they're in the current banners, you can get materials to ascend them to phase 1, but that's as far as you'll get until you unlock the required region. For weapons, leveling them up is the same as leveling up your character. I'm sure that you've heard players saying something like R1 Homa or R1 Thundering, but that R actually means the refinement of the weapon. So if I say I have an R3 sacrificial bow, for example, that means that I have a refinement rank 3 sacrificial bow. So what does refinement actually do? The refining weapon actually upgrades its passive skill, the one that you can see right here. Each weapon has its own passive skill, and you can only refine weapons when you have an extra copy of them. This will obviously make your weapon a lot more powerful, but I don't recommend this for 5-star weapons unless you really want to. Why? Because first of all, they're hard to get, and second, you can use them for other characters. How about 4-star weapons? I advise on holding out on refining a weapon until I'm sure no other character will use the weapon or when I have a 5th copy of the weapon. Now that refining is out of the way, let's talk about how to choose a weapon. Choosing a weapon depends heavily on your character's playstyle. Why? Because some characters aren't always played according to their intended roles. It's like playing Zhongli either as a sub DPS or a shielder. For now, let's use Xingqiu for example. Xingqiu is typically played as a sub DPS, so he's off-field most of the time. Let's say I have no idea which sword to use and the only information I have is that he is a sub DPS, which means he needs to support my on-field DPS in dealing damage. That crosses out my choices of equipping a weapon that focuses on damage dealing. So this is out, and this is out. But what about this weapon? It has energy recharge as a secondary stat, which can help recover my burst a lot faster. In addition to that, its skill is viable. So the best available option I have for Xingqiu is the Phaefonia sword. But what if I don't have the Phaefonia sword? Then I have to equip a sword with similar, if not same, stats. In a nutshell, determine the playstyle you're going for with your character. Then, narrow your options by checking if the stats and skill complement the character. If you're stuck between two choices, then choose the one you think works better. And if you have no choice at all, then equip whatever weapons available to you. Better yet, look up best weapons for this character or whatever, because that would be more reliable. I just wanted to tell you my advice for those who doesn't have that many options. Even if you don't have the character's best in slot weapon, it's fine. There's no harm in using a weapon that isn't entirely dedicated to them. Even the Traveler is still making use of his dull blade. Moving on to the talent section, this is where you upgrade a character's normal attack, skill, and burst. You'll also find their passives here. Each character has unique passive talents and you can unlock their other talents by ascending them. If you're wondering what talent you should upgrade first, well as usual, it's going to depend on the character. Instead of blindly upgrading whatever talent you feel like, use the talent upgrade reference to guide you. This will help you decide which talent to prioritize for the character you're building. My advice is to focus on upgrading the first priority talent to the highest level you can, followed by the second priority. Talents are very expensive to upgrade and consume a lot of resource, so spreading your resources thin by upgrading all talents simultaneously won't give you the best results. When I first started playing Genshin, I made this mistake while building Jean. Not knowing she was a healer, I upgraded all her talents equally instead of prioritizing her bursts. It could have been way worse if I had upgraded all of Barbara's talents, to be honest. Does this mean you shouldn't max out all of a character's talents? Well, yes and no. You see, players typically max out all of the character's talent only if that character is their favorite or if they have the resources for it. Otherwise, it's totally fine to leave one talent at level 1 while maxing out the others. To fully max out the talent, you'll need the Crown of Insight. You may have heard of the term triple crowned or double crowned or whatever. This is where it actually comes from. Triple crowned means having all 3 combat talents fully upgraded. This item is rare because you can only get them from limited sources such as versus events, the shop, and the offering system. Because of its rarity, most players upgrade their talents to level 9 and reserve crowns for their favorite characters. So, if you have a crown, it's a good idea to save it for a character you really love or when it's absolutely necessary. Before I tackle the artifacts, I want to tell you about Constellations. Constellations are an extra set of upgrades for a character if you get an extra copy of them. Completing this will bring out the maximum potential of a character, making them insanely overpowered. That's why when you hear players say, "I have a C6 or 5 5-star character and 5-star weapon," that means they are rich as f*** and you should beg them for primo gems. I'm kidding. So, is wishing for Constellations worth it? Personally, I'd say no if you're free-to-play because you're better off pulling a 5-star character and their weapon, but there are some exceptions for characters who become overpowered with just their first or second constellation. Even I kind of regret pulling C2 Xiao because it's shit. I even had the intention of getting him C6. Someone sponsor me so I can get him to C6, thank you. Last but not least, artifacts. If you're already at AR 45 or above, then feel free to skip this part. For those who aren't familiar with artifacts yet, they are items that you can equip on your character to make them stronger. This is what Genshin players refer to as a build. If you have a good build, that means you have good artifacts. Artifacts consist of 5 pieces: the flower, feather, sands, goblet, and circlet. A specific set of the same artifacts is called an artifact set. You can tell that they're in the same set because they have the same design, or you can just look at the name of the artifact set right below. In an artifact, we have 3 attributes: the main stat, the substat, and the set bonus. I'll explain the main stat first. The main stat of a flower is always HP, and the main stat of a plume is always attack, no matter what. However, for the sands, circlet, and goblet, these don't have a fixed main stat, so I'll list the possible main stats for you on the screen. For substats, these are the random stats you get on every artifact. Every 4 levels, a substat is either upgraded or added. You can only have up to 4 substats. Here are the stats that you can get for the substats. As you can see, there are 2 types of attack, HP, and def: the flat and the percentage. Anyways, percentage is better than flat. Then we have energy recharge, elemental mastery, crit rate, and crit damage. They're all in percentage, so you don't have to worry about that. By the way, the substat can't be the same as the main stat. So if you're expecting a crit damage circlet with crit damage substats, then unfortunately, it's not possible. Next, we have the set bonuses. Each artifact set has a unique one, and you can activate a set bonus if you equip 2 or 4 pieces of the same artifact set on a character. If you only equip 2, then it will only activate the 2-piece set. The same thing applies to the 4-piece set. You can also combine 2 pieces of one artifact set with another. Now, the reason why players must be AR 45 before focusing on farming artifacts is because they have a guaranteed chance of getting 5-star artifacts. And it's just a lot better. If you focus on farming artifacts at an early rank, you're going to regret it because of the wasted time and resin spent on some artifact that doesn't even give you the best value, compared to the 5-star artifacts you will eventually get once you're AR 45. So please, play the game. It'll only take you a week or 2 to get to AR 45, depending on how long you play in a day, of course. If you're struggling to clear content like Ascension quests, you can enhance your 4-star artifacts, but don't max them out. Upgrade them to the point you think you can clear whatever content you're struggling with. So, you've finally reached AR 45, completely ready to face the world of domains. But if you're not yet AR 45 and still want to know what goes on in artifact farming, then feel free to tune in. In summary, artifact farming is the very definition of Genshin torture, the nightmare of all Genshin Impact players coping with the fact that the 2,000 resin they've spent was worth a single artifact. Yet, it's not even on the right set. desperate for a 50 crit value artifact, only to be betrayed by the fact that it all rolled into death. That's the world of pain you're about to experience. And I'm not even kidding. It's true. Anyways, to get started with building your character, first of all, find out what set you're going to farm. You can find out the recommended sets for a character by clicking on this icon. From there, just head out to the domain and complete it. Obviously, you should aim to get an artifact with your desired main stat. You can check that here in the recommended affixes. Easy, right? Until the main stat of that artifact you're trying to farm is incorrect. Oh yeah, by the way, as a rule of thumb, try to farm for an artifact with double crit. I'll explain that right after. Once you have a decent artifact, here comes the shitty part. Enhancing. For now, let's not focus on the other substats first, but focus on these two substats right here. Crit damage and crit rate, the heart and soul of all damage dealers. In order to get the most damage ever possible with your character, these two right here are indispensable. That's why when you're enhancing an artifact, pray to the gods and wish yourself luck that all of the rolls go into crit damage and crit rate. The recommended crit ratio for characters is always 1 to 2. So, if you have a 50% crit rate, aim for 100 crit damage. My advice here, aim for at least 60 to 70 crit rate. 80, even better. And go crazy on the crit damage. All while increasing your other stats. And now we're talking. Yep, that's right. From here on out, it's all RNG, so good luck farming. Naturally, other substats are important as well, such as energy recharge and elemental mastery. But that's ultimately going to depend on the character, so find out what your character needs and farm their artifacts. If you get too many useless 5-star artifacts, you can use the artifact strongbox and the crafting bench to convert them into the artifacts that you want. Again, more RNG, so good luck gambling. Well, that's pretty much it for this guide video. Hope you'll learn something at the very least, and thank you so much for 100 subscribers. If you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and comment down below, and you can pretty much expect next year. Yeah, I'll probably move on to Zone Zero content now. Anyways, peace.